Hello, dear friends of Le Salon de la Musique. It's Francesco Comito here. Today, we will have the opportunity to talk with a really talented artist. His name is Alexei Tartakovsky. He's going to play this Sunday, 26th of July. Now we will invite him and we will have the opportunity to talk with him and ask him some question. Hello, Alexei. How are you?
Hello. Good. How are you?
I am fine, thank you. I'm very happy you're here. You're going to play for Le Salon de la Musique. Tell me, where are you now?
I'm in Pennsylvania, United States.
Can you tell me something about how is the situation in the United States?
Well, I think everybody knows now that it's getting worse and worse.
And what about concerts? Everything closed?
Everything, from what I can tell, everything's closed. The New York Philharmonic, several weeks ago, I think at least, announced that they were canceling everything until 2021 at least. So,
oh my God.
And I think every other arts organization has more or less followed suit. Any concerts that I had coming up in the fall are, of course, postponed or canceled.
But don't forget, you have a concert this Sunday.
Yes, I'm
important
in-person concerts.
We would like. We also talk about the importance to support our artists because Sondra Music actually was born to support talented musicians, and especially now in this period we need the support of our subscribers, of our dear friends that are always with us. And Alexei, I want to ask you, what you're going to play for us this Sunday?
24 Preludes of Chopin.
Fantastic. This is one of my favorite pieces. And why did you choose to play this piece?
It's a monumental piece that I've wanted to learn for a long time, for many years, and I've started working finally on it the previous fall. So the autumn of 2019, I played it in public a few times in February, and then I put it aside. And in June, I once again started just messing around with them on playing them again just for my own enjoyment. And as usually happens when you put a piece of music aside for even a short time, it got better seemingly on its own. So I thought that this would be a good time to play it again in one of these online concerts.
But tell me, is it the first time for you playing an online recital?
No, I've done, I think, at least 4 of these already, 4 online recitals, live. And so the first one I played the Fantasy in C major by Schumann. And then there was Beethoven, Opus 110, Sonata Opus 110. And then there was another concert on May 9th, which is, as you know, is Victory Day. So I didn't plan it originally to be on, to be on that occasion, but since the dates coincided, it worked out well. I played a piece by Granados, Fandango del Candil from Goyescas, and Tchaikovsky, Dumka, and several Rachmaninoff preludes. And then an encore, I played a transcription of a very famous Russian or Soviet military march, the Farewell of the Slavic Woman, the Prashanya Slavianki, which I'm sure you know. I managed to dig up the full score for the band, and I kind of made a little arrangement on the piano. And then the third one was Schubert, B-flat major sonata, the late great sonata, and now this one.
And can you tell me something about the feelings that you felt playing online? Tell me something about the differences that you felt playing online and playing on stage.
Well, of course, all of these concerts are far from under ideal conditions. The first few I did from home, and I have a good piano, but it has needed major work for a long time. And I finally sent it off to be worked on. It's basically getting a new action, but it was completely, it was out of tune, and it hasn't held tune for a long time at this point. So that was one thing, and of course it's on my own microphones, which again are good, but it's not, none of this is ideal. The location, the instrument, usually the equipment that is used to record on, and of course then it's streamed through Facebook or YouTube, which further degrades the sound quality, and depending on who is listening on what, it can be different for each person. So all the technical difficulties aside, well, the benefit is that it's much less formal than a live concert, which I think is a good thing. You're literally broadcasting from your living room, if you're doing it from your living room. So the nerves are much less. That said, I still did feel like I had an audience. It wasn't like I was playing just for myself. And it wasn't as nearly as unpleasant as making a purely a recording, which for me is always a very unpleasant experience. Or if you're in a recording session with no audience and you know that you have microphones and a camera aimed at you, for most musicians that I know, that it's very painstaking work, and in general very unpleasant. This was not the case. I think the presence of an audience, even online, made a difference. But of course, real concerts, real audience, real halls with real acoustics, this is it's hopefully a temporary substitute for all of that.
We have here our Dima, how are you? Right here in the comment. And Dmitry Ulashuk, he played an amazing recital for Salon de la Musique. We say hello to him. He's writing here a comment. Alexei, he's a great person and pianist. I met him on Prokofiev competition a long time ago, in which he was one of the prize winners.
Dima, привет.
Привет.
Happy to see you.
Also here we have our dear Alex that is always here for our live chat. Hello, Alex. And okay. Alexei, let's talk about your life. How did your passion for classical music started?
When I was 5 years old, I said that I want to be a professional pianist, and it's been downhill ever since. Probably I heard recordings that my parents had of classical music in the car or otherwise. And so I started taking piano lessons, and that was the end of it.
But so this is your first memory of classical music. You were listening to music in a car. So you.
Yeah, I mean, of course, this is all foggy. I was 3, 4, 5 years old. But yeah, I do remember frequently listening to recordings in the car. I'm pretty sure we had CDs of Andras Schiff playing Schubert, some CDs of Horowitz, which I still have. It's still all the same ones. Maybe a few of Richter. So things like that, and I heard all of that.
And so you started to study piano professionally. And what did you study?
Where? Sorry, you're asking.
Where did you study?
Where? So my family and I, we were living in Florida at the time, and when I was 5 years old, in a town called Gainesville, which is a small town. It's a university town. The University of Florida is located there. But in terms of music, at least back then in the 90s, in general, Florida was really underdeveloped, to put it mildly. I'm sure it's probably better now. I see many excellent musicians now work and teach in Florida. But at least back then that wasn't the case. So I had many neighborhood teachers. I once tried to count them all, and in total, I think over the course of my life, I've had something like at least 16 teachers, if you count all the early ones from back then.
Very different bells to listen to.
Sorry?
I'd say many different bells to listen to. We say in Italy we have
Yeah. Well,
different.
I mean, but these are uh, uh, local. Most of them were local neighborhood teachers. Just to teach me how to read music. Several were excellent, and several became lifelong family friends. There was one French lady who was already old at the time, um, and she was she had married an American artillery officer, I think, after the war, the Second World War, and emigrated to the United States. But she always liked to tell stories about Cortot, who she apparently knew, from what I remember, possibly even studied with for some time. She had an old Pleyel piano that she brought with her over from France, uh, and she was wonderful, and she taught me things. She taught me how to sight read. And she was a wonderful person in general. Unfortunately, she passed away several years ago, but I did visit her several times since then in Florida whenever I went down there. So there were a few excellent teachers,
So
but
they
in
inspired
general,
you, we can say.
sorry.
So we can say that they inspired you, that they were important person in your life.
Sure, yeah, surely, yeah. And then my family moved up to the Philadelphia area, and I studied with Eleanor Sokolov, who passed away just last week at the age of
Oh my
106.
God.
She taught at Curtis for something like 80 something or 70 something years. I mean, the longest tenured professor that they've ever had there. So I studied with her for 7 or 8 years, from ages roughly 8 to 15, as well as with one of her former students, Mark Antonio Barone. Um, and when I was 15, I started studying with Nina Lelchuk, who is one of probably the single biggest influence on my formation as a pianist and musician. And from then on, I went to a conservatory, and I did the whole conservatory route. Now I'm officially done with my studies, and of course, now the pandemic, nobody's playing for anybody anymore, at least in the U.S. But I've been studying with Richard Good, and hopefully, when this is all over, I will be able to play for him again. And occasionally, I play for Horacio Gutierrez as well, who's a tremendous musician and pianist. So I've had many, many teachers over the course of my life.
We have here a different question for you. Let me see here. We have are there concert pianists you look up to?
Yes, from the living ones, my number one absolutely is Grigory Sokolov, who I knew from recordings for a long time. And he doesn't come to the United States, unfortunately, so that was the only way to know his playing. But I was fortunate enough to hear to finally hear him live in Germany last year in Köln, and it was even more tremendous than I imagined
Yeah,
from
I
recordings.
know it's
Yes, and also Arkady Volodos, again, who doesn't come to the United States anymore. I knew his recordings again for a long time, and again, I was very fortunate to hear him in Italy this year, right before the pandemic started. By the way, I was there in January
oh,
and early February. Then
but
it was already starting, but it was still not, of course.
where you met him?
I heard him in Rome.
In Rome. You've been in
In
Rome.
Rome, yeah, and again, that was more tremendous than I could have imagined, from recordings even. Uh, Martha Argerich is another one. The first time that I heard her live was a long time ago in Philadelphia, and I think I was too little back then to appreciate. And I think she was playing Prokofiev Third Concerto, probably. I think that's what it was. But when I heard her at the opening concert of the Chopin competition in Warsaw in 2015, she played the Schumann A minor concerto, and that was wonderful. And it was not something that I expected. to experience just from the recordings that I knew at the time. And of course, just now she came out with this new recording of the
And
Chopin Third Sonata, the live, the live concert that she did to an empty hall. It was tremendous. It was wonderful. It was, I think, on the level of Dino Lipati's famous recording of that. You know, so
but
of the living ones, those are the ones that I admire the most. Evgeny Kissin, I've been fortunate enough to hear live several times. That's also been wonderful each time. And sometimes the encores are the best thing about his concerts. I remember a wonderful Schubert impromptu, both Opus 90 number 3, the G flat major, and also Opus 142 number 1, F minor. And well, from the dead ones, I mean, I can start listing them. I don't know if you want me to. Rachmaninoff,
but
Schnabel, Richter, Gilels, Horowitz, Dino Lipati.
what about composers? Do you have a favorite composer?
I can't say, I can't nail down one. No, there's too much great stuff.
Yeah, it's like to
Yeah.
say which is your favorite color. It's, for example, for me, I cannot say which is my favorite color because
No, I
it
think
depends
favorite
on the
color
moment.
is actually easier than favorite composer.
Yes, but I mean, it depends. It depends from the moment.
Yeah.
Today now I want to listen so much Rameau. Tomorrow Shostakovich. I don't know. It depends. It's the same thing. For example, for the food. Today I would like to eat pasta with pomodoro, tomato. Tomorrow I would like so much to eat some burger. I don't know. And that moment, in that particular moment, is my favorite dish. It's the same thing with the composer, especially also when I play music. It's the same thing. When I play Mozart, is my favorite composer. When I play Chopin, it's the same. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
We have here two more questions. Actually, I think it's the same question. Our dear Alex is writing here. You speak Russian and English with no apparent accent. Are you bilingual? Were you born in U.S.?
No, I was born in Russia, in Moscow, or the Soviet Union. It was at the time, and yes, I'm bilingual.
And okay, let me see if you have more question here in the comment. Okay, let's move on. Derek, say I want to ask you your opinion about the artist. Which is, in your opinion, the most important quality for an artist?
Hmm. It's difficult to say. There are as many qualities that one needs as there are people. I think discipline is a very important one. We can talk about talent and inspiration and all this ambiguous stuff, but discipline
So you mean
is
the
very important.
artwork is really important?
Discipline, yeah, and you need discipline and consistency in order to be able to work. And you
And
need to
how
discipline yourself. And for me, I know that's always been personally a weak area for me. So that's why I start with that.
And how much important is the talent, the natural talent in a pianist?
Well, talent is of course important, but I think it was Johannes Brahms, that said, without discipline, talent is like a reed or a piece of grass blowing around in the wind. So
And
uh,
Brahms, he was really talented. At 20 years old, he wrote such
he was not bad.
incredible
Yeah, he
music.
was okay.
He wrote these sonatas, ballads, music so deep, so music so beautiful. And he was only 20 years old. And now, here, 1 second, we have two more questions. But discipline without talent is not gonna work, right?
No, of course you need both. That having been said, there are plenty of cases in which somebody who is less apparently talented but is more disciplined has achieved more than somebody who is more talented and less disciplined. Also, we have to ask how we define talent. Uh, I personally view it as it's separate from what we call gifts. So
Yeah.
hearing, a sense of rhythm, those are all kind of technical, basic gifts that either you have or you don't. And of course, that can also be developed with training.
Yeah.
But talent, specifically musical talent, I would say is the ability to imagine in your head what you want to hear, how you want something to sound, and having the desire to um, create that in real life, and that is where technical skill comes in. So um,
But do
essentially,
you
I
think,
guess talent is a form of passion. That if you don't have an image in your head ahead of time, then why would you even bother?
but so you think that the talent is possible also to develop? The talent, for example, during the life, or the talent remains the same. You born with with this gift, and you perform during your life. And what do you
Oh
think?
yeah, it's like a spark, that if you have it in childhood, you can either blow on it and watch it grow into a fire, or you can uh, ignore it and it'll burn out and it won't be seen again. So it's, of course, it has to be developed and worked on, just like any other muscle or anything else.
We have here a question. Please, dear friends, if you want that we can see your name, write your comments on the official page of Restaurant de la Musique. Do not write comments in the group, because I don't know why, but StreamYard uh, does not permit us to see your name. Uh, okay, but would you consider this person an artist? The one who achieved a lot with discipline without an apparent talent. I don't know why my name is not showing. Ah, yes, in fact.
What is what is your name?
Please write here in the comments so we can say
Uh,
hello.
Again, what do we have to define the terms first? So, what do we mean by achieved a lot? Are we talking about some kind of monetary success, or are we talking about purely artistic merit? Because anybody who achieves a lot artistically is by definition talented, whether they've had maybe fewer gifts uh, to begin with and they've simply developed them better, or whether they've had uh, more so-called talent to begin with and have not had the discipline to develop it. So we might be talking about two different things. Monetary success or career success is not always tied to
Now look
success
at the most
musically.
important thing is the monetary, to make money with the music. Musicians nowadays, many of them, they use the music to make money. They don't serve the music. This
Yeah,
is
although if you go into music to make money, then you're a complete idiot.
this is really difficult to make money
Yeah.
with music, but we continue to work, because we also believe that it's necessary to support the art, because without music would be life would be a mistake, and without musicians life would be a mistake. So it's really important to support uh, musicians and art in general, because really without art life would be really boring. Let me see here, we have more questions.
I think we missed Alex Brusnik, and he
Yes,
asked.
now we're going. Yes, okay, dear
Yeah.
Alex, do you think that a musician has to practice many hours a day in order to succeed, or it's better to practice a little bit and to search inspiration somewhere outside of practice room? This is amazing question.
Well, you need to do both, I think. Also, what is a search for inspiration? I think it was Tchaikovsky who said that working is like working, and then rather that inspiration is a idea for amateurs that if you have to consistently work whether you feel inspired or not, and that waiting for inspiration to come is like putting water to boil and then taking it off halfway and then putting it on the stove again and then trying to boil it. So the water never ends up boiling. But yeah, there is of course a life outside practicing, and ideally one has both.
And can you tell me what would you do in life if you will not be a musician, for example?
I would be a pilot.
A pilot?
Yes.
Of what? Boeing, helicopter,
Uh,
cars,
fighter jets.
fighter.
And then I would become an astronaut, and I would become the first person to step foot on Mars. That's my alternate career path.
This is 1 second. We have so many questions here. I need to read all of them. 1 second. Okay. Let me see. Some pianists have preferences with pianos. For example, pianist Valentino Ziza loves Bosendorfer. Do you have preferences or certain brand of certain composer?
I haven't played on many Bosendorfers enough Bosendorfers to know. I can't say I have one brand preference, although lately in the past five or so years, all the Yamaha CFX pianos, the biggest the best concert grand they have, all of those have been excellent. And I first played on one at the Chopin competition, and I was really shocked by how good that piano was. And since then, I've played a bunch more, and they're excellent each time. But of course, it also depends a lot on the technician. So I was fortunate to play usually on Yamaha pianos that have been maintained by their head technician from Japan, who's probably related to the Japanese emperor and all of this. It's a very exclusive thing. But of course, Steinway is excellent as well, particularly a good Hamburg Steinway. I don't have certain preferences for specific composers. I think a good piano should be easy to play, and one should be able to play most anything on a good piano.
You know what? Yesterday I had a fantastic opportunity to try a new baby that is born to this new piano, handmade, completely handmade by one person, Pasqualino Serra. He made grand piano Serra, 2 meters and 80 or 90, I don't remember. And now I'm gonna show it to you. It's something incredible. This is totally handmade by one person and has such incredible sound. Yes, I was playing Schubert's sonata, first movement, this B flat major, and was sounding so well. I was thinking to organize a festival or recordings of Le Salon de la Musique pianists on this particular piano when this situation with coronavirus will finally end. And 1 second, we have here another question for you. Let me see. Michael, a life outside practicing, that is a myth. Yes, it's a myth to life outside practicing. But if you organize a little bit the time, is also possible to do many things. There is an interview of Vladimir Horowitz that was saying that Vanda actually was saying to the journalist, he was saying he's really lazy. He practices only 1 hour, maximum 1 hour and a half a day. So it's possible also to perform practicing 1 hour. Of course, if you are Horowitz.
Yeah, also he was probably around 80 years old when she said that, so he had been playing his whole life. I doubt that he practiced 1 hour a day when he was 20 or 30.
Alexei, so let's continue. I would like to ask you something about your A ritual. Do you have a ritual before concert?
Yeah, I practice. That's my
So you
routine.
have not something, superstitious ritual before playing a concert. You only
No, not usually, and sometimes one has to go to the bathroom as well.
So, but how do you prepare a concert? How do you prepare a concert? Do you usually sleep before the concert? How do you prepare yourself also mentally before a performance?
Well, getting a good night's sleep is important, but I usually don't nap or anything before a concert. The only time I've done so is if I'm playing in another country and I'm jet lagged.
Mm.
Uh, Particularly in Europe, I've had to sleep a little bit before concerts. But normally, no, there's no ritual. I warm up. I try to warm up until as late as possible, so there's as little time uh, not at the instrument between when I come out on stage, and which also,
And-
of course, is not always possible.
yeah. So, what is your ideal time to perform? I mean, in the morning, in the night,
Oh, no, definitely not morning. I'm not a morning person at all. Evening, as usual.
in the evening. And
Yeah.
how do you deal with the jet lag when you have to travel from a country to another and play, for example, the next day a concert?
Well, first of all, I of course I try to arrive before the previous day or earlier than so that I'm not playing the next day. That's just it's a recipe for disaster. And you have to readjust your sleep schedule as quickly as possible. So resist the temptation to go to sleep early, right away on the first day. Mm.
Okay, and what about? I want to ask you a special question. Have you ever done something crazy for music?
I think being in music, especially these days, can be classified as insanity.
Yes,
Yeah.
we continue to work. We don't give up. But we continue to play piano, to continue to make music. Yes, because classical music is so. I love it so much. I love so much classical music. I cannot say. I cannot say. I want to do something else. Classical. So why we have to give up? Even though we have politicians, they don't care about music, about culture, and we continue to work really hard. Here we have another question for you. Do you play jazz, considering you are also American?
No.
You don't play jazz.
No.
Well, you ever tried?
No, not really.
Have you ever tried to compose something? Do you compose?
No, not really. There have been a few assignments, in which there's enough bad music in the world, and I don't feel the need to contribute, and I don't feel any urge to compose myself either.
So do you think that a pianist, a musician, can be also a composer playing music of other composers? I mean, when you try to find an interpretation, you are also composing or not?
Well, I won't say I'm composing. I have certain ideas about a piece usually before I start learning it, which is why I usually start learning it in the first place. And I have a certain convictions and ideas of how I want it to sound, and from there, it's you spend time with it, and over the course of working on something, your ideas can change at least somewhat. Uh, and of course, there's the technical aspect of carrying out your ideas in real sound. But I would not say I'm composing anything. I'm trying to translate my ideas about what I think the composer's ideas were. So it's kind of like a mirror.
Yes, it's like you are trying to explain the will
Yeah.
of the composer. So you don't touch, for example, the what is written in the score. You don't change something that is written in the score. Or sometimes you do it.
I generally no, I don't haven't really felt the need to. There's so much. I just recently had this discussion online with a friend of mine, and a whole group of other pianists and musicians were commenting on this Facebook thread. And I don't consider markings in the score to be some kind of limitation. I'm not, some kind of searcher for the urtext either, but I'm not. I don't believe in some kind of gospel or purity or any one way, but there's just so much latitude. At best, the markings in the score are a guideline that you can. The more experience you have, that you can try to intelligently decipher. Especially if you know the composer's language in general, if you are more and more familiar with all of his other music, then that helps. So I've frequently come back to pieces that I played when I was younger, and I came back to them later after I had more knowledge and more familiarity with the composer's other music, all sorts of other music, and things that didn't make sense to me before seem completely natural now in terms of his markings, or even things without markings. For example, when a composer writes in a certain texture, or each composer has his own kind of things that he repeats in different pieces, and so that becomes more and more natural.
One second. Here we have another question for you. Have you played works from living composers?
Yes, I have. Competitions sometimes commission pieces that we are the contestants play of varying quality. Some are not bad at all. Some are quite good, but many are very bad. And recently deceased, I guess, I've also played. So Raul Tavara died, I think, in 2007 or 2013 or something like that. I'm Johnny Raul Tavara. I played some of his music. Yeah. Barry McO'Kinner commented that I'm long-winded and I have a blue shirt.
One
I
second.
don't know if this is blue. I think it's aquamarine.
One
And
second.
as for long-winded Barry, I can give you a short answer in 2 words as well, but I don't know if we should live stream it.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Okay,
In
Alexei.
2 languages.
I want to ask you a question that I asked to all of our artists. The best advice you received as a musician?
Um, I don't know. I've received much advice. I don't remember any one phrase that has,
For example, from a teacher.
well, of course from a teacher, yeah, but I can't really think
And,
of one phrase that has shown me the way,
and what about the advice that you would give to a young musician?
Don't
Don't what?
don't become one. Do anything else if at all possible. No, and if still they decide to become a musician, and if they are foolish enough to do so, I would say to trust your instinct, musical and otherwise, and have discipline.
We need to encourage young generation to play piano,
Yeah,
play
yeah.
music, to be musicians, to like music, to love
Yeah.
classical music. This is really important, because if young generation will not like classical music, we will not have.
Well, there's plenty of, I think, young generation that plays and studies classical music, but I'd say that 90% of it today is from China, Korea, and some Japan. So mostly the Asian countries. And of course, we see this in Western conservatories all the time. But there's no shortage of people. In fact, there's a surplus. Now everybody is a pianist and everybody has a doctorate, and it's become less and less valuable to have one of these degrees. So
so also I think it's really important now really to build a brand also playing to what you play, how you play it, because there are so many musicians, they play at the same way, they play in a standard way, they think at the same way, and this is something that honestly I don't like it. That's why I'm trying to select for the Salon de la Musique a special kind of artist to show also to our public that music can be also different. It's not the same thing. Classical music. Okay, dear Alexei, thank you very much for being here. I would like to thanks also our dear friends of the Salon de la Musique. They are also always here for our live chat. I would like to remind them that our Alexei is going to play this Sunday, 8 p.m. Italian time. And in the description, in the link below, there is the link where you can find all of the informations about the our dear Alexei. Also, the program is going to play. If you didn't hear at the beginning of the interview, and also there is the PayPal link, so you can make a donation to the artist. It's really important. Don't forget to make a donation, because musicians, they work so hard to share their love, to share their passion with you, and it's really really important that you support our talented artists. Thank you very much, dear Alexei. Thanks to all of you, and see you for the concert this Sunday.
Thank you.
Have a good day.
You too. Bye.